Going for two, kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for two, sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all, I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. So what are we talking? What kind of alignment? And running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top end. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping. And woo! This is the armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo! This is the armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo!
What is going on, guys, and welcome to episode 242 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. We are part of the Going for Two Live podcast network. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. We are live here every Wednesday and Friday night on Facebook, Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch on all major podcast networks and in the Going for Two app for iOS and Android. Just a reminder, if you are watching us on Twitter, the comments are still not working. So if you want to interact with the show, make sure you look us up on Facebook. Let's go ahead and meet the guests, man. We got Gerson, who's a little tired tonight, a little exhausted, as I think is how he said it in the chat. But Gerson and Tim are here. What's up, guys?
Hey, what's up, Jeff? How is it week 13 already, man? Crazy.
I know. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And also YouTube. Get us on YouTube.
Yes, definitely. Hit that subscribe button, guys. It helps us out, helps us with our rankings. Gerson, man, how you doing?
Pretty good. Sorry, I had something else in my mind. Like, I hear rankings, I'm thinking like we're over here being like only fan ranking, we're in the top 1%. Just please put it up there. Yeah,
the more subscribes we get, more comments we get, the higher we rank, and Gerson might take off his shirt too. So
you might get bad reviews on that one.
All right, fellas.
The Weekly Rewind. Rewind.
All right, Tim, we'll go to you first, man. How was your week 12?
I had an excellent week, man. I was really happy. It was one of my best weeks of the year by far. I got kind of lucky, but I also was on a lot of my plays. I was really heavy on Joe Mixon and Cordarrelle Patterson. Both of those plays worked out well. And I avoided a lot of Christian McCaffrey, who obviously was a big bust last week. So overall, man, yeah, big profit. Want to roll into week 13.
Good stuff. What about you, Gerson? How'd you do last week?
It wasn't too great. I was in that Tampa game, so I didn't do too hot. A lot of my GPP roster was there. I also had a lot of Christian McCaffrey, so that really killed me too. He was on one of my core. He was my core running back. I mean, if you were on the show on Sunday, I basically said I had like two cores of running back, and he was on the main one. But just the stacks didn't really do very well. And to be honest, and I'm not trying to be a downer or anything, but that's why I hate doing the Thanksgiving slate on Thanksgiving for week 13.
Yeah, a lot of changes.
I can't give you like the best info, but if you tune in for the Sunday show, you got the best of me, but I hope you didn't tune in and just,
ignore everything else the rest of the week.
Yeah. Hey, but we had on the show, even on Wednesday, we said if Patterson plays, he's a great play.
Yep.
And obviously that worked out. So, yeah.
Definitely. Unfortunately, I did not have a great week. I'm going on 3 weeks in a row on a cold streak. I have to break that streak this week. My cash lineup literally had every bust chalk play that you could possibly have. Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey, Miles Sanders, Chris Godwin, Brandon Cooks, all these guys. Even the Texans defense didn't do great. But that was my cash lineup. Yeah, it was pretty brutal for me last week. So I'm hoping that this week will be much better for me. And we got a pretty good slate too. I was doing my research today, and I kind of like this slate a lot. So let's go ahead and jump into it.
Let's talk quarterbacks.
All right here at the top, Gerson, we'll go to you. Give me your top quarterback this week.
Damn me, I was going to open my beer. Mr. Thomas Brady Jefferson, or Thomas Jefferson Brady or something like that. I don't know. Fucking Skip Bayless calls him by his full name every single time. So, yeah, I mean, the matchup is there. We've seen this way. I love Tom Brady when he had a bad game the week before, because he just comes out the next week and he just wants to set the record straight. I'm still here, blah, 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 like he's the GOAT and everything, you know. But, I mean, he's going to be the highest owned quarterback at 15 to 20% probably. Facing Atlanta, one of the worst defenses in the league, basically. So they have one of the things I always look at for quarterbacks, especially on DraftKings, is player prop. He has a 306-yard player prop. That's what 10 points right away with the yards, right?
Yep.
Or am I off? And then another 3-point or 4-point for that bonus. But whatever the bonus is, I mean, that's 14 points just based on his yard. But he's going to get like 2 touchdowns in this game. I love this game for him. And Falcons have surprisingly been competitive. I mean, they're still in the wild card hunt. I mean, a lot of teams are in the wild card hunt. That's sad, though.
I think the entire NFC is in the wild card hunt except for the Lions.
Well, I was a little disappointed, Gerson, that you didn't put the GOAT emoji like you usually do. You actually wrote out Tom Brady.
Yeah, you can tell he's exhausted. He actually wrote the name out.
Sorry, guys. But yeah, give me in a high. I mean, not a high scoring game, just mostly for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think also Antonio Brown is the biggest idiot in the world. Yep. Oh my goodness, that's even worse than Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. That was he ruined himself for this year. All right, Tim, what you got for your top tier here?
Yeah, man, if there's a get right spot, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm going to take Matthew Stafford this week. He's in that same range as Brady at 7,300. I think this is a great spot because they've had a couple of down weeks. Obviously, they lost to my Packers last week, and I think they bounce back here. I think that I think they're implied for 30.5 points, right? One of the highest totals on the slate. Stacking options are pretty straightforward. One thing we talk about this Rams offense is all the wide receivers basically play 98% of the snaps. So really straightforward there on who to play. And high total, like I said, just sets up great here for Stafford. So the only downside here is there isn't a lot of good run back options, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, definitely. I had Stafford and Brady in my top tier as well. There is one more quarterback, a running quarterback here in the top tier that both of you have on your list. And Tim, you got some notes written down there, so talk about Jalen Hurts a little bit.
Yeah, one thing Jalen Hurts, does is obviously run the ball, and if there's no team lets opponents run the ball more than the New York Jets. So normally we think about going running backs against them, but you can also play running quarterbacks against them. And another thing that's a surprise to me is that the Jets actually play pretty up pace. This game is actually third on the slate in terms of pace, which normally you think the Jets is a slower team. But, they'll actually be playing a pretty up pace in this game. I think the Eagles are going to roll over the Jets, and this could be another one of those maybe 3 touchdown games for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, last week was kind of crazy for Hurts. I don't know what the Eagles were doing game plan wise. They were running the ball a shit ton the weeks before that and playing really well. And last week they said, you know what? We think Jalen Hurts is the next Tom Brady. Just threw the ball way too much and ended up screwing themselves. So hopefully they go back to what they were doing when it was working and just run Jalen Hurts, run those 3-4 running backs, whatever they have in the backfield. All right, let's move down. Go ahead.
I think what it was is that Coach Sirianni knew that we had Miles Sanders a lot. He's like, fuck this shit. Fuck him. We don't care about DFS. We don't care about fantasy.
It's Boston Scott time.
Yep, exactly.
It's Boston Scott time.
Exactly.
Fuck all y'all.
Yeah, fuck the free world.
All right, let's move down to the mid-tier, Gerson. Who do you have in your mid-tier? Oh, he's got a beer first.
It's Herbertlicious, man. It's Justin Herbert, man. I love this game. I also want to apologize last week when I was all over that Steelers and Bengals game. Didn't work out too well for me. That's another reason why I didn't do very hot, because I was on that game.
Yep.
And like I said, the plays that I say on the show, I usually play them. So, Justin Herbert, $6,700. I think he's priced up, right? Yeah, $6,700. He had a adjusted quarterback for 12th against the Bengals. Both of these teams are in a playoff hunt, so this is going to be a very competitive game. I believe. I mean, it has a 50-point total. Isn't this like the highest point game on a slate? I could be wrong though.
No, it's Bucks and Falcons.
Or it's Bucks and Falcons, huh? But no, I mean, Jimmy Herbert, I think his price is pretty good. His stack is very contrarian. It depends which way you want to go. Obviously, Keenan Allen, along with him, is going to provide you the biggest floor. Keenan Allen leads the league next to in target next to Tyreek Hill and what's his name, Cup. So there's a good floor there. But to me, I love Herbert this week. I think I'm gonna go with him. One of the things I keep looking at is just I tell people you want to find a fast-paced game, high over/under, but also the potential to be turnover. Both of these quarterbacks can have turnovers, so it can just the pace could just push faster.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned Keenan Allen. I was going to talk about this a little bit when we get to receivers, but did y'all see his quote when he was asked if Herbert throws the ball too hard? He was basically like, I just want the fucking ball. Just throw it to me any way you want. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. That's what you want to hear, man.
Exactly. All right, Tim, what you got for your mid-tier?
Yeah, I'm surprised I'm talking about Gerson's boy this week, but it's Mr. Derek Carr. Nobody gives up more yards and points to quarterbacks than the Washington football team, and he gets a home game this week where I think he is absolutely going to tear them up. I'm not worried about the fact that Darren Waller is doubtful or whatever. He can beat them with Bryan Edwards and Hunter Renfro and whoever else they're rolling out there. So, it's only 6,000 this week. I think he's in a great spot. I think he fits really well into builds, and he's had a couple of really good games already this year. So I think you can feel that he has a pretty good floor this week as well. So I think there's a chance I might be playing Carr in cash this week.
I like it. So I think I've had this guy now 3 weeks in a row. I think he may have even been my stack 2 weeks in a row. Mr. Kirk Cousins at 6.5 playing Detroit. Detroit, as we know, not a good defense, 28th DVOA. Kirk Cousins' stacking options are pretty straightforward. It's Jefferson or Thielen, unless you want to get contrarian and go with like Conklin. And the fact that they don't have Dalvin Cook might force them to pass a little bit more this week as well. So versus Detroit at 6.5, I think Cousins is an excellent spot. Gerson, you got one more guy there. You mentioned earlier the Cincinnati game last week wasn't a good game, but you got Mr. Joe Burrow on your list again. Talk about Joe Burrow a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow is 6.3K. So I have him projected for 19 points, almost 19.89, so almost 20 points. It's against the Chargers. To me, I think, like I said, I'm targeting this game quite a bit. So to me, I like to get correlated sometimes with my quarterback. When I play 150 rosters, so I also play single entrance, 3 max entrance, and then 1 week tournament where I try to beat these guys, but I never win. So hopefully this is the week. Herbert to me right now, he has a player prop of 289 yards. So that's still really close to that 300 range that we're looking for. So, I mean, Joe Burrow, not Herbert, sorry. So to me, I think if I'm going to play Joe Burrow, I'm going to lock him in with Jamar Chase. So that's where you're going to get the highest ceiling out of that stack.
Yeah, I agree. And I think people will be off Chase too, so he'll probably get lower ownership because he hasn't been that great the last few weeks.
Yeah, he hasn't been that great. And not only that, his price is still above 7K. So, but no, give me Herbert against the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, give me Burrow, Herbert, both of them, those are my mid-tier quarterbacks, basically.
All right, good stuff. I had one more mid-tier quarterback, but Tim, you have measure value, so talk about Mr. Heineke a little bit.
I'm not going to talk about your boy. Go ahead, Jeff.
All right. As we know, Heineke's been on my list quite a bit this season. I think, once again, Heineke at 5.6. The Washington football team is playing a little bit more ball control. They're running the ball a little bit, and he's not turning the ball over, which I think really kills him when he does that. As long as they can do that against the Vegas Raiders, I think they'll be fine. And at 5.6, the Raiders are 25th DVOA versus the pass. I think Heineke can have a pretty good game. He hasn't done the ceiling of some of these guys that we talked about, but I think if you're looking for a floor, he definitely has that floor at 5.6. All right, Tim, what you got for your value?
Yeah, one guy I want to talk about, he's actually on all three of our lists this week, is Mr. Tua Tagovailoa, 5,500. And one thing I want to talk about particularly is the status of Devonta Parker. He is on IR, but he is expected to be activated this week. I think they have until Sunday that they actually have to do it, but a lot of it's expected that he will be activated. And I think that sets up as an excellent spot, particularly if he plays against the Giants. I like him even if they don't activate him, but if they do, I think it's an absolute smash spot for him. The Giants defense is very up and down, look really good one week and then look terrible the next week. And Tua's been pretty consistently passing the ball. I was really surprised because you're used to seeing Tua like maybe a 22, 25 pass attempts in a game. But 4 of his last 5 games, he's had over 30 pass attempts, and 2 of those games were 39 and 40. So, like, if Tua's going to be slinging the rock at 5,500, then he could be an excellent value.
And if I'm not mistaken, I didn't verify this. I saw the stat somewhere, but the last couple of games, he has like an 80% completion percentage, which is like a ridiculous number. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I just know that he's been really good as far as completion percentage. Not that it gives us any more fantasy points, but it is good for his efficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I like that call.
Gerson, so we talked about all your value plays. You got one more guy there that we haven't talked about yet, Tim, Mr. Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, this is just a guy that I played last week, and honestly, I kind of lucked out a little bit on Tyrod Taylor just because I couldn't find the 300 to get to Cam Newton. But I think against the Colts, one way you can actually beat them is through the air, and so I think Tyrod's going to be in a spot where he's going to have to throw the ball. And at 5,300, I think, we've seen some games early in the season where he's, again, throwing the ball 30-plus times, and that's what you're looking for. Obviously, this is highly dependent on Brandon Cooks playing. If Brandon Cooks does not play, I think he's expected to play, but if he doesn't play, then I'm obviously crossing this one out. This could get really ugly in a hurry, and in that case, I want no part of it. But
Definitely.
I think chances are if I'm going to be playing value quarterbacks, it's either going to be Heineke or Tua.
Yeah, and Jared in the chat just spit that stat out that I was saying earlier, 80% in the last 3 games for Tua. So that's really good efficiency right there when you complete that many percentage of your passes.
Are you sure his name's not Facebook user?
Nah, he's moved over to YouTube now. We can see who it is. Any more quarterbacks that we didn't mention? We got them all, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I think we got most of them.
All right.
I like all the calls you guys made, by the way. I just didn't want to comment too much on it.
All right, let's go to tight ends.
Did somebody say tight ends?
All right, Gerson, I'll go to you first. Give me one of your top tier tight ends here.
So, I almost just like, to me, it's just, I saw you guys' list after I put in all my tight ends. I'm like, okay. We got all the same tight ends, basically. Yeah. But, I mean, tight end's pretty straightforward every week, but I'm not really looking to pay up too heavy for George Kittle, but he's a great player. He's in a great spot. Mm-hmm. I mean, Kittle, I think he's finally healthy, ready to go, going off 120%, like I said last week. But the thing is, he's getting targeted. Jimmy G, he tends to just target him, pepper him with target. And weirdly, though, he's coming in at really low ownership. I only have him at 3.5% ownership. So I think he makes an excellent GPP play, especially against the matchup he's going against Seattle, which they're the 4th worst against tight end, basically, against adjusted point. Give me George Kittle at that price. And I don't know the history of George Kittle against Seattle, but I'm pretty sure if they're 4th adjusted against tight end, I'm going to have a lot of George Kittle at that low ownership. And just great GPP play. I would not play him in cash game, though.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Kittle's ownership is probably based on what he did last week. He didn't do much. He had, I think, 1 catch for 12 yards because they were running the ball so well. And he's one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL, and they used him a lot in the blocking, to block. But I do think he gets involved this week, especially with Deebo Samuel not being there. So he'll be the number 1 pass catcher in that offense, I believe. Mm-hmm. All right, Tim, talk about one of your top tier guys.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about Mr. Rob Gronkowski, Mr. USAA himself. Last week I said that he was just way, way too low priced at 4,400, and he ended up going for 7 for 123. I pretty much had like 60% Gronk across my lineups last week, and then the other lineups that didn't have Gronk pretty much had Pat Freiermuth. So that worked out for me as well last week. They raised his price back probably closer to where it should be at 5,300. But I still think he's in play. He had 2 touchdowns against Atlanta earlier this year. And as Gerson just mentioned, it's not a particularly great slate for tight ends. So if you want some different exposure to that Brady in Brady stacks, I think you could go with Gronk, and I don't think he's going to be low owned, but I think he should be. He's priced closer where he should be. But I still think that not a lot of people will be paying up for tight end this week.
Yeah, I agree. Gerson, you got one more guy in your top tier here, and then the middle tier is pretty ugly. Me and Tim only have one guy each, but talk about the last guy you have there in that top tier.
It's Kyle Bitcoin. I mean, unfortunately, the winner, I don't know if you guys follow the stock market or crypto, but it's the winter season is sell season. But I think I'm going to be buying Kyle Pitt this week. I mean, he already had a good game against them pretty earlier in the season, and he had a 5 for 5, 6 targets, 5 receptions, and 73 yards. I mean, that's pretty good for a tight end anytime, especially at the price he's at right now. He's not too expensive, which is what made me happy because 5.6K is about what I feel comfortable with the player he is. He's a rookie still.
Yeah.
But if you're going to keep up pace with Tampa Bay, you're going to have to score, and you're going to be playing from behind. So give me Kyle Pitt. Their linebackers are really good at covering, but it's just, to me, Cordell Patterson healthy and everything gives them a mismatch too. So they're going to line him up everywhere. They got Kyle Pitt. So if this is a DPP play, don't play him in cash game for sure.
Agreed.
I mean, what was that?
I said agreed.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay ranked 8th against the adjusted tight end. So give me Kyle Pitt at 5.6K.
I like it. All right, let's move down to the mid tier, which I said is pretty ugly. Tim, you got one guy. I have one guy. Talk about your guy in the mid tier.
Yeah, as you mentioned, one guy, and that's Mr. Logan Thomas. Again, a staple on this show. Came back last week, wasn't exactly 100%. He only played on 77% of snaps. We're going to say only because in his role, we're used to seeing him play over 90% of snaps. I expect him to get over 90% of snaps again this week. He's only 4,000, and he gets one of the best matchups you can have, and that's the Las Vegas Raiders. So I think we could see a big game out of Logan Thomas this week. I'm projecting him for 6-7 targets, and at 4,000, that's just too cheap. Normally in this spot, we'd see him. What?
I love how Tim said that like he's trying to insult me. I'm like, ooh.
No, I'm not. Okay, I'm not at all. No, not at all. I really like this game. I mentioned it in quarterbacks. I may mention it all show. This is my one of my favorite games of the week.
Good stuff. I just mentioned my guy really quick.
Not at all.
My guy was more about I wanted to find at least one mid-tier tight end, so I don't necessarily love this guy. I just wanted to have somebody here to talk about, but I do think Freiermuth is in a good spot here. Baltimore and the Steelers tend to have ugly games, and ugly games typically have tight ends getting a lot of targets because the receivers are just not getting open. They play the game tight, really. So Freiermuth at 4.2, I think, can catch a touchdown, maybe even 2 touchdowns this week against Baltimore. But again, like I said, I don't love that play, but if I had to have a mid-tier tight end, that's the one I would be playing this week. All right, who wants to talk about the chalk tight end? Gerson, since it's on your team, why don't you talk about Mr. Foster Monroe?
How about Tim just insult me again? Just kidding. No. Yeah, Foster Murrow. I mean, this guy, I think he's pretty talented. He's just getting, it's just Darren Waller. I mean, it's kind of hard to beat out a great tight end. Not a great, just a good tight end like him, you know. We've seen Darren Waller go out this season already before. And this week when Foster Murrow had a pretty big game. Unfortunately, that game, you couldn't really play him because it was a late game. Yeah. And I did swap out to him, though. He did help me out in the later game. He got 6 for 6, 60 yards, and I think he got a touchdown.
Yeah, I think he got a touchdown.
He got a receiving touchdown. Yep. Yeah, so I mean, Foster Moreau is going to be the shark tight end, and for good reason. I mean, they're going to pass the ball quite a bit on the Washington football team. Just to guys, if you're a Raiders fan and you say the R word, I mean, there's going to be some serious repercussion there with the whole Gruden thing. Yeah, we don't want to be saying that, so make sure it's the football team. But no, give me for sure Foster Moreau. He's coming in at 25% ownership. Yeah. That is chalk of chalk. I mean, I'm not saying do it, but if you want to be a daredevil and fade him, okay, good luck though. I mean, he's gonna get targeted 2.7K. That allows you to pay up for everything else, and that's basically the cheat code to pay up for everything else this week.
Agreed.
Yep.
Tim, you have one other guy that I've heard talked about a little bit in that same price range. If you are going to pivot off of Mr. Monroe, talk about your boy.
I actually had one guy that was pay up a little bit, and that's Mr. Jack Doyle. We actually saw him have a really good game last week, and I think he has another good game this week against the Texans. He was a little bit banged up earlier in the week, but he did get a full practice in today, which you like to see, and he's only 3,300. So I think, as he just mentioned, Foster Moreau is going to be much higher played than he is, and for good reason. But I still think we could see a good game out of Jack Doyle, and nobody will be playing him even at 3,300.
Yeah, good stuff. So, Gersten, you want to talk about the other tight end that Tim didn't want to talk about?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know this joke, but if you do, shout out to you guys. It's Jane Principal O'Shaughnessy. But it's off Key and Peele. I mean, you guys are hilarious. Yeah, but go check it out. Or Aaron.
Aaron. That's what everybody knows it as. Aaron.
Yeah, but it's James O'Shaughnessy. I mean, this guy, he was supposed to be the tight end there until they went and traded for Dan Arnold. He went on IR. I mean, he was the guy that was touted to be basically the starting tight end for the Jaguars, but he's priced cheap. And like I just said, Dan Arnold went on IR right now. So, I mean, I don't know if he went on IR, but he's out. That's for sure. I know that.
Yep.
But give me O'Shaughnessy at that price. Again, guys, this is straight up GPP because he ain't nothing close to being a cash game play.
Agreed.
I'd rather have Murrow by a mile.
Yeah,
I
think for cash game, you lock in Murrow and you lock in the defense that we'll talk about later on, and then you just build up from there is how I see it. All right, let's get to running backs.
It's time for running backs. Running backs.
All right, Tim, I'll go to you first here. Pick one of your guys here to talk about. You got a few running backs here in the top tier.
I do. I really want to talk about the top guy there, but I'm going to talk instead about Joe Mixon. I mentioned last week I was heavy on Joe Mixon. I'm going right back to Joe Mixon again this week. His volume lately has just been incredible, getting 30-plus touches a game, and he gets one of the best matchups possible for running backs home against the L.A. Chargers, giving up almost 5 yards per carry. Like I said, I mean, you could just look, as Garrison talked about earlier, I mean, this is a guy who's got a realistic shot to break over 100 yards on any given week, get you the touchdown, and they continue to use him in the passing game too. So at 8,100, I think he's just so cheap. Last week, if you saw, he had 4 catches for -2 yards, and that was partially because at one point he saved an interception. I don't know if y'all saw that play.
Yeah, it did.
It should have been an interception, and he saved it. Went backwards like 3 yards, but it was obviously well worth it. So Joe Mixon just doing all the things that you want him to do, and he's 1,100 cheaper than the other guy that everybody's going to be playing.
Yeah, and that guy, I'm sure Gerson wants to talk about him because that's Gerson's boy, has been since day one. Talk about Mr. Jonathan Taylor.
mean, he's the best running back in the NFL now. Tell you now, Christian McCaffrey, you giant pussy. No, I'm just kidding. The thing is, Jonathan, tell me how I feel, huh? Tell me how I feel, huh? Tell me how you feel, G. No, Jonathan Taylor, he's 9.2K. That's a lot, though.
Yeah.
But he's the only running back probably on this whole slate that I can see can get 40, 30 points, like 35 points, like breaks the slate. I mean, maybe value break the slate. There's other running back, but like point total.
Yeah.
Taylor's the only one against Houston. I mean, Houston's still one of the worst defense in the league. But, I mean, to me, it's just all about volume. And in I think it was week 6 against Houston, he had 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he's only gotten better through the season. So imagine what he can do now. I mean, I feel like this is basically what we wanted out of Christian McCaffrey last week, right? We wanted him to get all the volume. We thought he was healthy. But Jonathan Taylor at that price, he's going to be one of my core running backs. I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him. He's coming, the field is agreeing with me, coming in at 20% ownership. But the good news is, guys, unlike last week, we have good value this week.
Yeah.
So
we definitely
you can feel comfortable playing them.
Yep. The only thing holding back Jonathan Taylor is his coaching staff. I mean, sometimes they forget they have him back there. Like, oh, wait, we got Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. We should probably give him the ball. I think, was it last week, week before last, where he got most of his points on the very last drive of the game? They had given him the ball all second half, and all of a sudden they started giving him the ball. But yeah, so that coaching staff, as long as they just remember that they got Taylor in the backfield, he's definitely in play for sure. So I have in my top tier that I don't think anybody else has this guy. Oh no, Gersten does as well. Austin Eckler at 8.3 going against Cincinnati. We know he's basically Christian McCaffrey light, except he's also healthy, so that definitely helps. At 8.3, he's gonna get your passing yards, catches, runs out of the backfield. He's basically do it all for the Chargers there. And against Cincinnati, I do think he's got a pretty good matchup at 8.3. He's sort of the pivot off of Mixon. I think Mixon will be a little bit more chalkier than him. So if you want to pivot a little bit, then you can go to Eckler as well. Tim, I want you to talk about Mr. Uncle Lenny there.
Yeah, well, before we skip over it, I do want to talk about Madison. Because when this slate first popped up, the first thing I saw, okay, Dalvin Cook's out, I want to play Alexander Madison. And I feel like DraftKings did a really good job pricing him up to the point where I almost don't want to play him.
Don't want to play him.
Like at 7,600, yeah, he's had a couple of really good games when he's had the bulk of the carries this year, but you're expecting that type of game in order for him to pay off this price. So I think if I'm going to pay for a running back in that range, it's going to be Uncle Lenny. Obviously, he broke the slate last week with his 4 touchdowns. As Gerson mentioned, everybody played Godwin or Mike Evans, and of course it was Uncle Lenny. He got 8 targets last week, which was just incredible. The last 4 weeks, 8, 6, 9, 5. This dude has become their guy. Ronald Jones is, getting 6 carries a game. He's not even involved in the game plan anymore. So you love to see it. I'm going to go right back to Uncle Lenny because we mentioned everybody's going to be playing Tom Brady. He's going to be one of the top stacks on the week. How do you pivot off that? You go right back to Uncle Lenny and hopes he gets you 4 more.
All right, good stuff. Gerson, you have one more guy at the top tier, and we're doing good on time, so go ahead and talk about Antonio Gibson.
So my point. I'm kidding. You think we're doing good on time?
Slow it down a little bit.
No,
don't tell Gerson we're doing good on time.
Yeah.
I mean, I put Antonio Gibson as my elite running back because I think he's an elite play. He's a great value. It's Antonio Lil Tony Gibson, man. I don't know if you guys noticed, but when he was younger, his mama used to put him in bigger and older grades, higher level of competition, older age and everything. And he'd be going out there like Lil Tony. That's what they call him. But give me Antonio Gibson. His price, he got the Monday night salary, so it didn't change. And what J.D. McKissick is out. He's gonna have a concussion. He has a concussion, he's out, and he's basically the biggest reason why Antonio Gibson hasn't been unleashed in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, Jeff and I, we love Antonio Gibson. We know the talent he has. We wanted him, and we were drafting him in the second round in dynasties. You know.
Yep.
I mean, getting good value out of him, but for fantasy football, last week we saw the whole show. He got the workload, and he got 7 targets, 7 receptions. Yep. I mean, it was only 37 yards or something like that, but still, I don't give a shit how many yards you have because I get a point for each reception. You can have 10 yards and 10 receptions. That's still 10 points. Exactly. That's 11 points.
Yeah. Agreed.
But give me Antonio Gibson at his price. He's going to be highly owned, though. He's probably going to be the highest owned running back on the slate. But a great matchup, too. It's against the Las Vegas Raiders, sadly.
That team over there.
That football team versus the Las Vegas Raiders. What a great matchup, huh?
Yeah, I love Gibson as well for the same reasons you just kind of mentioned, and I loved him coming into the season. I actually was drafting him pretty high in most of my drafts, and actually said that he had the potential to be number 1 overall this year. I think if he had stayed healthy and the Washington football team didn't suck in the beginning of the year, he probably could have. But yeah, health has kind of been his downfall.
Yep.
All right, let's move down into the mid-tier, Tim. Who do you have for your mid-tier?
Yeah, before I talk about my mid-tier, I want to talk real quick about lineup construction because I think that there's going to be 2 ways that are going to be really popular in lineups this week. And it's basically either playing 3 of these 5 to 6K guys or playing 2 of these guys plus Jonathan Taylor, right? I think that's the way most people are going to go.
Yep.
So I think Gibson, as Gerson mentioned, is kind of a lock today after McKissick got rolled out. And I think the other 2 guys it's going to come down to is Eli Mitchell and Jamal Williams. So I'll let you talk about your boy Eli Mitchell. I'll talk about Jamal Williams. This is a situation where, obviously DeAndre Swift has been rolled out. Minnesota Vikings actually give up a decent number of yards to running backs. And Detroit, we know, will feed their running backs all day long. I don't think that they're going to go with any different game plan here for Jamal Williams than they had for DeAndre Swift. It's going to be old school 1985 football where they give him 25-plus touches.
Yep.
And that kind of volume at 5,400 is just so cheap. So I don't think the game script matters really here for him. The only downside is that he could go like 20 for 70 yards and not get a touchdown, and then he kind of kills you. But outside of that, man, I don't really see how he fails in this spot.
Yeah, and I don't think DraftKings had chances to really price him up because they didn't really rule out Swift until I think today. They just said he was sore after the Sunday game. Yeah, so.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Madison and Swift, those coach, like when they didn't rule them out, both of them until today, I was like, I mean, Kirk and Swift, I was like, you guys, like, we know.
Yeah, we know exactly. They're not gonna play. So yeah, you mentioned Mr. Eli Mitchell, and he's been awesome. I actually was touting him in the offseason that you draft him, and I drafted him in most of my dynasty leagues. Kirsten's rolling his eyes over there. Hey, I gotta toot my horn once in a while. But last week, I mean, you look what he did last week. He had 27 carries, 133 yards, and a touchdown. Also had 5 receptions. So, I mean, this guy's getting the full workload. Deebo Samuel's not going to be there, so he won't be getting those carries in the backfield. It'll be Eli Mitchell. And, you know, we talked about the 49ers in the past as being a run by committee. This is his backfield. He's playing, I think, 80% of the snaps. He's getting all the carries. There's no Jeff Wilson getting anything in there. Jermichael Hasty's not going to be getting anything. Trey Sermon's on IR. So this is the Eli Mitchell show at 6K versus Seattle.
Trey Sermon got buried by Kyle Shanahan at his funeral, and Kyle Shanahan didn't even fucking give him flowers or anything. He killed him. He murdered him.
He did. He definitely did. And Eli Mitchell at 6K, I think, versus Seattle is going to be a smash play.
Oh, yeah. I love that call.
Gerson, so we took both of your mid-tier guys. Is there anybody else you wanted to mention, Tim, before we move to the couple of values that we have?
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm good. Those are all my running backs. Basically, those 6 running backs of Gibson, Taylor, Mixon, Eckler, Jamal Williams, and Elijah Mitchell. Those are going to be my core running back.
Yeah. The only other guy I had was James Conner. I liked him more earlier in the week than I like him now. But I think in this game against Chicago, Arizona is going to come out and continue to feed the ball as they have. And this could end up being one of those, cold weather games. And we obviously know Kyler's not 100%. I expect he's going to play in this game, but we know he's not 100%. So I think they're going to, play defense and run the ball. That's going to be their game plan going in here. And that's going to be a heavy feature of James Conner. So he might be a little bit lower ownership now than he would have been on Wednesday. But I still think he's a good play.
Yeah, I like that. Gerson, what you got?
So let's talk about the elephant in the room, Alexander Madison. Yeah, he's a great play, but he's 7.2K.
Yeah. They priced him up for sure.
I mean, he was 6.2K when he was the first matchup, but that price is worrisome for me. I'd rather go on the other side of Jamal Williams, and it's just both. He's running back, like Tim said, But I know Jared Good gonna say, Madison this, Madison that. Madison is
He's a Vikings fan. What do you expect?
Yeah, but yeah, I just think there's better options, to be honest. And his ownership, I hope it gets up to like 20%.
Yeah, awesome. It definitely could be.
I didn't say this at the time, but if it's me, I'm finding 500 to get the Joe Mixon.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Love Joe Mixon.
So I only have 2 values, and these guys don't have any values, and these guys are really predicated on some injury news. If Josh Jacobs is out, Kenyon Drake at 4.4 versus the Washington football team is a good value. And if Darrell Henderson's ruled out for the Rams, then Sony Michel at 4.3 versus Jacksonville is also another good value. Guys that aren't really being talked about because the guys we just mentioned in that mid-tier and that top tier are really the higher guys, but I do think Drake and Michel are good plays as well if those 2 guys are out.
Let's give a real shout out. We've been calling this guy out for like 6 weeks in a row, and it's going to happen this week. But unfortunately, he's not on the slate. Mr.
Javonte Williams.
Oh, yeah. Yes. My best lineup last week actually had Javonte. Jeff tagged me. I didn't mention this in the recap, but I had a top 5% lineup last week. That was Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, MVS, run it back with Van Jefferson, and it also had the 3 running backs in that lineup were Devonta Williams, Joe Mixon, and Cordarrelle Patterson.
Wow, that was an
So
awesome lineup.
I could fit all that because of Javonte. And I just was like, man, I was that close to having one of those lineups that I was like, yes.
Yeah, I posted the stat on
It was a
Twitter.
good one.
It was the top 10 running backs in missed tackles forced. And then I took that stat and I compared it to how many touches they have. And Devonta Williams forces a missed tackle on 24% of his touches, which is basically 1 in every 4 touches he makes somebody miss, which was tops in the league by far. I think JT had a 22%. He was the next one in line there. So I'm excited to see Mixon. I hope he really breaks out this week and puts Melvin Gordon on the bench for good because I love Devonta Williams. All right, we've talked about Devonta Williams enough. Let's move to the next.
And now, wide receivers.
All right, Gerson, we'll go to you here. Who you want to talk about here in your top tier?
I just take the sheet. I'll take the easy answer out, and that's Cooper Kupp. I mean, this guy is the best player of the wide receiver this whole season. It's crazy to say that Cooper Kupp, like, he's like the same size of Tim going out there playing football. I mean, not.
I'm more like Hunter Renfro than Cooper Kupp, but yeah.
Or I'm not saying the same skin color either, but no, Cooper Kupp. I mean, he has the most targets on the season. I think I love the Matthew Stafford call early on, and I'm going with Cooper Kupp. Like we just said, those two guys are very high floor positional players. Kupp is, but to me, it's just Taylor and Kupp are the highest priced players for me on this slate. But if I want to get different and get one of those wide receivers, those running backs that are all going to be straight up values and just build around Cooper Kupp, then I might just do that. But to me, that's what I've been telling people. Like, you got to have a core. You got to build a core of your running back and your wide receiver because that's very critical. And I think Cooper Kupp can be a very good, strong starting point. He is priced up, like I said, but $9K, I think you can make it work. I mean, this is the only wide receiver that I have projected for more than 22 points.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't projected for 26 points. So 26 points, he's coming in at 20% ownership, and nobody's going to be able to cover him on that other team. I mean, this matchup is excellent for him. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better than that, right? Hey, it's another question. I don't want you to give away all of your projections, but what do you have Justin Jefferson at? Just by comparison.
I have him at 19.5.
Okay, I was going to say, depending on a couple of the sites that I've looked at, there's a 4 to 5 point gap between Cooper Kupp's projection and Justin Jefferson's projection, which is really crazy to think about just how much of a gap there is on this slate.
Yeah.
This is not a particularly great wide receiver slate. Normally, we don't have enough spots to fill in all of the wide receivers.
Yeah.
And this week, we actually have tiers. It's actually crazy to see. But in my opinion, it's two guys on top by a wide margin, and it's Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson. Those are the two guys I'm paying up for if I'm playing wide receiver. Justin Jefferson already had a huge game against Detroit earlier this season. That was without even scoring a touchdown. And now there's no Dalvin Cook where they may throw the ball even more. But yeah, the gap between him and Kupp is huge. And if you're playing cash games, I would try and find a way to put Cooper Kupp in your lineups.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Go ahead, Gerson.
I love that call. No, I love that call. I think it's either Jefferson or Cooper Kupp for me at the top. I do have another guy listed there, I believe. Where's my wide receiver?
Jamar Chase. You got Jamar Chase.
Yeah, it's Jamar Chase. I talked about this many times. I think Jamar Chase is him and Justin Jefferson the last 2 years. We're going to talk about this back. Where is everybody laughing? Why are you laughing, Tim?
Something in the comments.
Yeah, what Joe put in the comments. That was great.
What am I missing? You fuckers.
They're not talking shit about you. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. No, give me Jamar Chase. He's probably gonna be stacked straight up with in every single lineup with Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's gonna be highly owned. I think it's crazy though. He's only coming at 10% ownership. I expect him to be higher than that come Sunday, but he's 7K. I was kind of weirded out by that because I was like, okay, so he's finally getting to like a dropping in prices every week. But then I saw how inconsistent he kind of been. But he's a rookie wide receiver. So in this game environment, like I said, I want Chargers, I want Bengals. But that total for the Bengals is 26 points.
Yeah.
That's that's crazy. Just in 26 points. And we've been talking about a lot of Bengals. Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. And the next person is going to be T. Higgins probably in next year. But give me Joe Higgins. Yeah,
Joe
give me
Just
Joe
combine
Higgins.
them.
Give me Joe. You know what? You better chase me with Joe Higgins, you know? No, I'm kidding. No, give me Jamar Chase for sure. But it's hard. It's a hard choice because there's a big price disparity between those three guys.
Yeah, agreed. And sticking with the because y'all took all the top guys that I was going to talk about, so I'll move down to the mid tier. And one of those receivers in that game you just mentioned, Keenan Allen at 7.5. I can literally just lock him into my sheet every week. I talk about him every single week. He's still 7.5. He's getting targeted like crazy. He's probably has the best route running ability in the NFL. He's got the greatest hands in the NFL. I mean, this guy's he's just awesome. I love Keenan Allen, and at 7.5, I think he's still too cheap. So he'll be in a lot of my lineups as well, especially in probably even my cash lineups because his floor is ridiculously high. Tim, what do you got in your mid tier?
Yeah, this is a guy that screwed a lot of people last week, a little bit me included, but I'm going right back to him this week, and that's Chris Godwin at 6,600. When I opened up this slate, I told you I didn't particularly love it for wide receiver, and before we knew we were going to have the value we do to be able to pay up, the first guy I thought I was going to lock in is Chris Godwin. Not only does he have an excellent matchup against the Atlanta Falcons, but this is a team he's historically torched in his career. And at 6,600, I don't feel like DraftKings has priced him up where he needs to be. He needs to be at least 7,000. So I still think you get a little bit of a discount too. What?
He just
read it?
He just read the comment.
I guarantee he just did, yeah.
For
comment and cupid. That's exactly right.
For those that are on the audio podcast that can't read it, I'm gonna just read it out really quick. That Joe put in the chat here. He said, like the song says, Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Mixin and Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen. So great comment in the chat there. All right, Gerson, who do you have for some of your mid-tier receivers?
I was also laughing hard at Jetty's too. He said, Tim is so passionate when animated on the slate. Haha.
Yeah, when the Packers aren't on the slate, it's much easier for me. There's no doubt about it. I can just have fun.
The funniest thing is when the Green Bay Packers are on the slate, Tim is like that meme where the guy starts sweating like very hard. Like,
absolutely.
Should I talk about him? Should I not talk about him? No. But sorry. So we talked about. I got distracted. Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, and what was the other wide receiver you guys said?
Keenan Allen, okay.
Yeah, I mean, high floor for sure. But one of the guys I'm going to be looking at this week is definitely Chris Godwin. He's coming out to be a very great... Did we talk about him?
Yeah,
that was me.
Tim just talked about him.
Oh, fuck. I just asked you who we talked about. I was reading the comment, dude. I can't...
Talk about T. Higgins. Hurry.
Yeah.
We were doing good on time.
No, I don't have... well, let me talk about the other guy, Mike Evans.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can go the other way, too, with Mike Evans. Evans actually coming in at 5% ownership. That's what shocked me. I was like, what? And then you got Godwin at a higher ownership. I'm going to go contrarian. I'm going to go with Evan,
Yeah.
But to me, Evan, I feel like this little fuck, every single time I play him, all of a sudden he pulled his hamstring in the second quarter.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. Like, I've never seen a player come in and out of the game more than Evan. Like, and he makes a great play, and then before they turn the camera away, and there's Mike Evans holding his hamstring,
But then he's back a few plays later. I don't understand how that works. Like, most players pull a hamstring and they're out for a week. He's, like, back in there running routes again.
That's what's crazy. And the crazy thing is, like, he has this crazy-ass streak of, like, the most 1,000 yards in a row. And, like, he even did it when he had the 1,000 yard. Like, it was on the line, and then he injured himself the next play.
Yeah, he was done after that.
But no, yeah, give me Chris Godwin. Of course, we're stacking him against Atlanta in that Tampa Bay Atlanta game. Lower ownership. This is a great matchup for Edwin and Godwin, guys. Just don't either have him as one-off or play him in your stack.
Yeah, agreed. Yep. All right, let's talk about one more mid-tier each. Tim, me and you talk about one of your guys.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the guy that I said compared myself to a little bit earlier, and that's Mr. Hunter Renfro. Yeah, this guy just continues to shock me at what he's able to get away with in the NFL. But his route running is elite. He's managed to find a way that even Cole Beasley hasn't figured out a way to be able to get some of these yards in space.
He's
and with he is. I am. I truly am. Some of these people are able to play in the NFL and exceed and play at a high level. And I expect he's going to play at a high level against the football team this weekend, particularly with no Darren Waller. They call it third and Renfro for a reason. This is who Derek Carr looks to consistently. He's got one of the safest target volumes for anybody in this mid-range, not named Chris Godwin. So, yeah, I think everybody's going to be playing Foster Moreau. And so I think you go opposite of that and you play Hunter Renfro.
I love it. The one guy I want to talk about is a guy I gave a good stat on last week, Jalen Waddle. I said his last 4 games with Tua Tagovailoa, he had at least 10 targets in every one of those games. And last week he had 10 more targets again. He had one of his biggest games of the season with 10 targets, 9 receptions, 137 yards, and a touchdown, put up 31.7 points. I think Waddle at 6.4, his price is raised up a little bit more, but I do think he's still in that range where I feel comfortable playing him. I was wrong on Waddle. I actually didn't draft Waddle in any of my dynasty leagues. I was wrong. He's been good. So at 6.4, it's a pretty good play. And I'll just mention real quick some of the guys we didn't talk about in the mid-tier. Deontay Johnson's on that list. Brandon Cook's on that list. Michael Pittman Jr. also on that list. And T. Higgins, we kind of mentioned a little bit. And also Mike Williams. Gerson's got him as a GPP, I'm assuming. He's one of those players that just could have a humongous game and win GPPs for you. Let's move down into the value tier, and I'll go to you first, Gerson. Who do you have in your value?
I just want to be like Antonio Brown. Hi, I'm vaccinated and trying the vaccination card. Oh man, I'm having too much good time on this show. So for my value, I'm gonna talk about him because nobody else wants to talk about him. It's Josh Reynolds. I mean, shout out to which one of them called him out for the sick call?
I had him on the sick call a couple weeks ago. He didn't break out that week, but he ended up breaking out.
On Thanksgiving.
Oh, on the Thanksgiving slate? Yeah, I don't know who called him out.
Yeah.
I think it was Eric, and he killed it. I mean, it's sad to say this, and I feel like every week we say, the new Detroit best wide receiver is...
Yeah.
Come on down! Step right up, you know? But yeah, Josh Reynolds, I mean, this guy, he was basically the reason why I didn't win a lot of money. Last week, I mean, him and DeAndre Swift, but I didn't have a lot of Josh Reynolds. But Josh Reynolds at 3.4K, great call. I should have listened, but the matchup is great against Minnesota. I mean, I don't think Minnesota is very defense I fear on pass defense. Not really Patrick Peterson's out, right?
Yeah,
I could be wrong. Or was he back in? He was hurt, I think. But
Tim can look it up while you're talking.
But Reynolds is 3.4K. He's actually coming in at pretty good ownership, too, at 10%. So for a guy that cheap as a value, he's coming in at good ownership. Give me Josh Reynolds. I'm not, like I said, I'm not expecting, like, the world from him. I'm expecting 10 points at the most. Yeah. You know? If he gets me anything more than that, if he gives me the 16 points that he got last week, great. But he got 5 targets, 3 receptions for 70 yards, you know? That's a pretty good game, and they signed him off free agency, right? So, I mean, off was it waiver or free agency?
Waivers, yeah.
Waivers, yep.
They claimed him on waivers, yeah.
Yeah, so that shows you that they want to get him involved and they want to be included in the game plan. Jared Goff, you just keep being yourself, buddy. Good luck in life.
Yeah. If I could just add one thing, I had this stat. Over the last 4 weeks, no team has given up more fantasy points to wide receivers than the Minnesota Vikings.
Wow.
So I love that call. Yeah, we talked about a lot of other teams give up a lot of points, but yeah, that's who you've been going for over the last 4 weeks. So I like that call. I think Josh Reynolds, if you play Josh Reynolds and Foster Moreau in a lineup, you should be able to play everything else.
Yep.
So just hope that those guys give you, 12 to 15 and everything else hits. But my favorite pay down option this week, and I'm waiting for DraftKings to put some respect on his name, and that's Mr. Van Jefferson. Ever since Robert Woods went down, he has, we've talked about it earlier in the show with Matthew Stafford. He's already playing 90+% of snaps. Odell Beckham says he's going to play this week, but we know he's not 100%. He's obviously not 100% involved in this offense. And yeah, he had a long long 54-yard catch last week against Green Bay. But without that, I mean, that's his whole game, right?
Yep.
So Van Jefferson is getting the volume, which is what you're looking for. They're using him on different routes now than they used before the Robert Woods injury, which means they're hired, sorry, you caught me off guard. These are routes that are more likely to be caught, right? Higher conversion rates. So last week he had 9 targets, only had 3 for 93 and a touchdown, but 9 targets at 5,300 is just too cheap in my opinion. Everybody's going to be playing Cooper Kupp. If you want some cheaper exposure to that game, I love Van Jefferson.
Love it. I love it. So I got 2 guys. They're both 49ers that y'all kind of just conveniently left.
I'm waiting for this. God, yeah, balls.
Yeah, one of them is going to be a little bit more chalkier with Ayuk. Obviously, with Deebo Samuel out 5.6, I do think Ayuk gets some. He's chalky, but Jawan Jennings at 3.1. I was going to make him my sit call. I decided to go against making my sit call because I don't want to jinx him. But he will be the number 2 receiver, and they've been working him into the offense a little bit more. I think he's got 7 targets over the last few weeks when he had like 3 targets the whole season before that. He almost caught 2 touchdowns last week. He did have 1 touchdown. He almost had 2 if he would have got his foot down on the other one. So he's kind of a red zone threat as well. At 3.1, he don't got to do much. A couple catches and a touchdown, and you're good. But it's not a cash game play for sure. At 3.1, you're hoping that you can get 7 points from him, 8 points from him, and be good with that. So Juwan James has looked pretty good in the last couple of weeks. So he's one of my value guys there as well.
And he's talented too. I mean, he just didn't get like high draft capital, so he really didn't get a lot of opportunity.
Yep.
But when you play for Kyle Shanahan, I can't think of a coach that's given more opportunity to any other players on the roster, like going through players like, I don't know, Santa Claus,
Eli Mitchell,
cookies,
Eli Mitchell.
Well, shit, man, Eli Mitchell, and all of a sudden Brandon Ayuk was the number 1 receiver, and then next year Deebo Samuel, and just switch on and on. It's like fucking musical chair was his fucking starting roster.
And no one knew who George Kittle was coming out of college either, really. I mean, George Kittle came out of nowhere as well, and now he's one of the best tight ends in the NFL now.
Yep. I'm just waiting for him to play musical chair with Trey Lance and Jimmy G.
Yeah. All right, it's time for Tim's favorite time of the night.
Defense, 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 defense.
All right, Tim, give us your chalk defense. I think everyone's got this defense is chalk pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know which one you alluded to, but I'm assuming it's going to be the Miami Dolphins because they will be squaring off against Mr. Giraffe himself, Mike Glennon, due to the fact that Daniel Jones has been ruled out. So, I don't usually, at this show, we advocate for basically every week pay down. But this week, I think with the value, you can afford 3,300 to get up to the Dolphins. They have like a 9.5 point projection, depending on where you look, which is just insane for a defense. There's the value to be able to get there. And if they end up scoring 15 or 18 points like the Bengals did last week, you're going to want to make sure you have them. And, if you don't have them in cash, that it could end up being the difference. So if you do pay down, we've talked a lot about this game before, but I do think that there's still a good value, and that's the Washington football team at 2,500. They're the only team in that range that gets any kind of pressure on the quarterback. But I don't see how you don't find the 800 to get to the Dolphins this week.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Washington football team, you play them if you really want to fit some guys in, then you can't get to the Dolphins, but they have been playing better defense, and of course they'll be without Waller and likely even without Josh Jacobs as well. So I do like them at 2.5. Gerson, you raised your hand there. What do you want to say?
There's only one quarterback a little bit less worse than Mike Glennon, and that's Zach Wilson. I love the Eagles defense this week. Definitely gonna be playing some Eagles defense. It might be a little bit pricier at 3.6K, but I think they're gonna put some pressure on him for some turnover. Vegas is showing that too. The Jets are not good, guys. I mean, you might get some good, value plays out of them, like in DFS, but in real life, they fucking suck.
Yeah. The Jets aren't good. That's an understatement of the year right there. The Jets aren't good.
What are they? The goddamn Jet from Big Daddy.
Yeah.
But no, give me the Eagles defense. Damn, that's sad that I just said Mike Glennon better Zach Wilson's a little bit better than Mike White.
All right.
Flip a coin.
Going42.com's weekly stack report.
All right, Tim, we'll go to you first here. Give us your stack of the week.
Yeah, I will go with Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Mr. Van Jefferson, and because of the lack of run back options on the Jaguars, I'm going to go Mr. Oshag Hennessy at tight end.
I like
it. My boy.
Yeah. All right, Gerson, who do you have for your stack here?
I have Herbert, Allen, William, and Higgin. Obviously, I like that game, but I think if I were trying to get a less, I couldn't decide which way it was going to be actually more contrarian, whether it was William or whether it was T. Higgin and Chase. But I feel like William will have lower ownership than those two guys, so I went with the other way. I went with Herbert.
All right, I like it.
Hey, Jeff, real quick before you give your stack, I wanted to mention something, and I almost put this in the notes. We talk about cash games. You don't have to stack in cash games. I think this is going to be a rare week where there's going to be not only a stack, but maybe a run back that you see in a lot of cash games. Derek Carr, Foster Moreau, and Antonio Gibson.
Yeah,
I think you're going to see that in a lot of cash games this weekend. So if we were going to go with a cash game stack, that would be my cash game stack.
Yeah, I like it. Now, I always say in cash games, you don't have to stack, but if it makes sense, don't avoid stacking. If you just in this week it makes sense. So, agreed 100%. All right, my stack this week, I mentioned at the top there that I liked Kirk Cousins this week, so he is my quarterback with Jefferson. The comeback option, I was kind of debating between going with Josh Reynolds or Jamal Williams. I went Jamal Williams. I do think he gets the workload there. I think he can catch passes as well. So if they do get down, he's going to be catching passes as well. He's pretty much script proof. So give me Cousins, Jefferson, and Jamal Williams on the comeback.
And now the sick call of the week.
All right, week 13, guys, and sick calls get so much harder as we go through the season. I mean, early in the season, we had guys that we really liked in the sick call, but now they're really, truly, truly getting sick. Tim, I'm going to go to you first here. Give me your sick call.
Yeah, the only person who likes the sick call other than me is Mr. Brian Clark as he plays for the Washington football team. We've mentioned basically every other player in that game. Why not mention this guy as well? And that's Mr. Deandre Carter. At only 3,600, I don't expect anybody's going to play him this week with Josh Reynolds in that same range. Last 4 weeks, though, 6, 3, and 5 targets. And he's actually getting targeted down the field as well. We know Las Vegas, on one side, they have Casey Hayward, who will kind of take your best receiver or try and bracket your best receiver. They're going to be putting all the attention on Mr. Terry McLaurin, who we didn't mention earlier, who I think is a good play. I'm going to go on the opposite side and play DeAndre Carter. So he is my sick call this week.
I like it. Gerson, who you got?
I'm just letting you guys know I'm shooting like a 20% on these sick calls, so just don't play it. But again, these are sick calls for a reason, right?
Yep.
I actually feel confident in this one, though. Like, I feel real confident I might actually put him in a roster. I actually will put him in a roster because every week I put my sick call in at least one roster. I promise you guys that. Sometimes it's even in the arena league. So, Deshawn Jackson, guys. This guy, last week he had a good game, obviously. He got a touchdown, 60 yards, and so Thanksgiving. Yeah, how about them Cowboys, huh?
No.
This is Raider Nation, boys. This ain't Cowboy Nation. This is Raider Nation. Oh, yeah, by the way, guys, tune in on the Sunday show because Eric will be wearing a Cowboy jersey, a Raiders jersey.
Raiders jersey. Nice. They had a little bet going on.
But no, I love Deshawn Jackson. I don't think Deshawn Jackson is just like a hit and miss. I think he's part of the game plan. Henry Rugg is gone. They have basically the same kind of attribute, except one of them is like 10 years younger, basically. Yeah. But that's it, It's like comparing Jeff with me, That's all it is, guys, But yeah, I just want to say this. University of Utah, Pac-12 champ.
Nice.
Here we go.
Cheers. Go Utes.
Good stuff. All right, so my sick call, before I give you his name, I'm going to give you the team that he's playing in their last 5 games versus this position. They gave up 7 for 123 to Gronk last week. They gave up 6 for 80 to Dawson Knox the week before that. They gave up 5 for 67 to Daniel Arnold the week before that. They even allowed Ryan Griffin, the tight end from the Jets, to score a touchdown. They even gave Swaim from Tennessee a touchdown as well. My guy is Brevin Jordan versus the Colts at 2.5. I've talked about him a couple times on the show this year. I think he's sort of that third tight end from the rookie class this past year, Freiermuth and, of course, Pitts being the other two. But I think he's starting to come on a little bit. I think, is it Akins, the other tight end there, has been inactive the last 2 weeks. He's been a healthy scratch, so they like working Jordan in there. So Jordan at 2.5 is a sneaky pivot off some of those other cheap tight ends that we talked about. If you want to play someone besides Foster Monroe in a GPP lineup, I think Jordan can get you there at 2.5. So that is my sick call.
I almost called him in my sick call the week before, too. It pissed me off.
Yeah. I think the week before he might have had a touchdown, right? Because there was 1 week he had
no. 2 weeks in a row he had a touchdown no?
Just want to put it out there. You can get Tyrod Taylor and Brevin Jordan for $7,800.
Cheaper than most of the receivers we just talked about.
Yeah, you can add Jonathan Taylor to that, and you can be at like $17K.
Yeah.
Then you can just put every other good player in the rest of your lineup.
Yeah, it's a crazy stack right there. I love it. All right, guys, it's week 13, man. Let's go around the room. Let's we're counting down here. We've only got 2 more shows on my Wednesday show. We got next week and the week after that, and then we're going on hiatus until January, and then we start talking Dynasty and Draft. We haven't decided yet when we're going to stop the DFS show. I know we have that extra week this year, but Christmas kind of messes things up a little bit, so we'll see how far we're going to go with the DFS show. But let's go around the room really quick, guys. Give us your Twitter handle one more time and your Facebook page. Gerson, we'll go to you first.
You can find me at the Fantasy DFS on Twitter, and you can find me on the Armchair DFS Roundtable show, Roundtable Facebook group, and you can find me on the Sunday show. Please, guys, I'm telling you, these Sunday shows have been fire. It's not because I'm on it, but because Pilots, Eric, and Evan are on it. I mean, Evan shows up whenever the fuck he wants, though. Apparently, I mean, he's missed like 2 weeks now, but no, just find me on there. Please, I'm letting you guys know. Like, I don't say this to say this, but I give you the answer to the test on that show.
Yep.
Right now, I think this is all the breaking news we're gonna get, though. I don't see any more breaking news coming through.
Yeah, the only thing I'm waiting on is Darrell Henderson and Josh Jacobs news. Those are the two that I'm waiting on.
Josh Jacobs news. But yeah, find me on there.
Tim, what you got?
Just a quick program note for me. I will be out next week. Mr. Aaron Barnett will be filling in for me, so definitely check him out. But you can find me on Twitter at KetoDFS. And then, of course, in the DFS Armchair Roundtable on Facebook.
Good stuff, guys.
But you complete me.
I'll miss you guys, no doubt.
Definitely. We'll definitely miss you next week.
Send me some pictures.
Real quick, though, I wanted to say this really quick. I meant to say it earlier in the show and I forgot. But, we had that the DFS charity contest in week 1. We raised, I think, $1,200. I'm actually going to go Sunday. So instead of donating the money just as a lump sum, I'm actually going to go shopping for toys to donate to Toys for Tots. So we're going to do that this Sunday. I'll make sure to get pictures of all that stuff and post it on Twitter. But I'm going to have a little shopping spree and actually bring toys to the Toys for Tots bins and donate them. So that'd be kind of a cool thing for to look out for on Twitter. As always, guys, follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. Definitely follow both these guys. Great follows on Twitter as well. For Tim, for Gerson, I'm Jeff. We will see y'all next week.
We're on bye this week, but go, Cat, go!